Hi everyone, welcome back. This is the deep dive for lesson 4 on creating the ball and doing the ball physics. So there's not a whole lot to dive in here, simply because we didn't do a whole lot of actual programming. But I'll go over it line by line for you anyways. As stated in the last video, here we're just getting if the user presses space, and the reason I'm doing get key here is just so I could show you that the input manager has different ways of getting keys. So if you don't want to use the get access for whatever reason, you can just use input.getKey, use a key code, or you can use the string value of the name. The next if statement is just if transform.find ball. And if we come back over here to Unity, we'll see that ball is childed to our paddle. Now this can be a little confusing because this is a game object, so you would think it was if GameObject.find ball, but GameObject.find has already been defined by Unity, and it means something else. It means for literally for finding an object within the scene. And since it is actually more or less childed to the balls or the paddles transform, it does kind of make sense to use transform.find. And then we're just passing the name of what we want to find, which is ball. And all we're doing is saying, hey, if this ball is childed to the paddle, then we can execute all of this code. If not, then we don't want to fire the ball again, because that wouldn't make any sense if the ball has already been fired. From there, whenever we fire the ball, we want to make sure that the ball is no longer childed to the paddle anymore. And then I'm just making a vector 3 here, and I'm calling it force vector. And like I said, in order to get that horizontal angle whenever we're moving, let's see what I'm talking about. I come over here. So if I just do a straight, well, I'll show you again. If I just shoot it straight, then that's fine. But if I didn't have this code right here, I'll just comment it out. I just made this 0, and I played it. No matter how I was moving, it is always going to shoot just directly up from the position I shot it from. So this is why, instead of doing it that way, we come up here and we get our horizontal axis and we multiply it by our what we choose to be our, I guess you could say, force multiplier. And then, it gives us that angle that we're looking for. And I just do the same thing up here for the y, because obviously we want to make it go up. And that is just creating the vector that we will be using, the vector 3, that we will be using to add force to our ball. So the next line is where we actually do that. And all we're doing is we're saying we're getting our ball, which we created up here. And then all we're doing from there is we're just we're getting the component of type rigid body. So anything that goes in between these less than, greater than sign, that'll be the type of component that you're getting. And if you're not used to this, you're a little scared of it, don't worry, we're going to use it a lot. You'll end up using it a lot. It's just Unity's way of getting a component from a game object. And as I've stated before, a game object is any one of these, anything that resides on a object in the scene. So transform would actually be a component. The sphere mesh filter here would be a component. The sphere collider is a component, mesh renderer, rigid body, and the material. It's all just a component of the ball object. And so whenever we're saying here, get component rigid body, we want to grab the rigid body component off of that ball. And then we just close our statement with these brackets because get component is a function. And then, or rather, yeah, it is a function. We're just grabbing the class. So, and then from that rigid body component, we're using the add force method. And then all we're doing is we're passing along our force vector that we just made up here. And from that, we are ready to go. Play it one more time just so you can see. Looks good. So really the only other thing is that, we created a rigid body. Looks good. A rigid body is only added whenever you want an object to be acted upon by Unity's physics system. So, I say like, if you say we were making a 3D, game where there were, I don't know, just say like a trash can, that if you ran into the trash can, it would get knocked over. That you would probably add a rigid body to the trash can itself. And so at that, that kind of is, just using Unity's physics system. That way, for the ball physics and bouncing around, things like that, we don't have to do a ton of complex calculations in order to calculate that. Unity does it for us. The last thing that we really did was we created a physics material that made this ball bouncy. Otherwise, their Unity objects kind of default to being more of like a solid, maybe like a rock hard type of material physically. Here, using physics materials, we can make it more of like a rubber material or something like that. Also, like if it was a ground or something and you had zero friction, you can make it like icy ground where you can slide on it, things like that. And that being said, that's pretty much the end of this deep dive. Again, not much code to go over. So I'll see you in the next one.